What's going on, guys? We're watching a extinct zoo video here. This one is this prehistoric ocean was, I can't pronounce that, on steroids. Thalassophobia on steroids. What does thalassophobia mean? Let me check that out before we get into this. Thalassophobia. Deep bodies of water. It's the fear of deep bodies of water. Okay. I mean, oh, is it? Yeah. Do you have fear of deep bodies of water? That's what you would have. So it's thalassophobia. All right. Well, let's get into this video and see what this is all about.
Much more willing to be dropped into the middle of nowhere on land rather than in the ocean or sea. After all, it does appear that once you venture into the depths, life starts to become more disturbing. And this seems to be a common trend throughout history, as every point in time often has an animal or two lurking around in the waters that was far scarier than anything found on land. One documentary that nicely sums this up is Sea Monsters, which made a list of the top 10 deadliest seas or oceans of all time. Among those mentioned included Jurassic waters home to giant pliosaurs, pre-Mesozoic oceans filled with giant cephalopods and sea scorpions, and even a Cenozoic sea that was home to the largest shark of all time. However, all this paled in comparison to their winner,
Megalodon.
a body of water that existed during the late Cretaceous that was home to numerous animals that would put much of the marine predators of today to shame. Some of these beasts were included in the documentary, yet many didn't make the cut, despite definitely being worthy of tingling your thalassophobia, and adding more reason as to why.
So are you like scared watching these videos? Or is it like, it's like a, because if you won't play like Subnautica, like, is it like even, it's so bad it's even through videos and stuff in games? Because like, like I'm scared of heights and stuff, and like I have a metaphobia, which is like the fear of vomit. Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. Like if I see like a video and like somebody's vomiting, like I have to turn it off. Like that shit is awful to me. But like I can do heights in games and stuff and like VR, but yeah, that makes sense.
This body of water was absolutely the worst place to go swimming ever. Welcome, my friends, to the Western Interior Seaway, or as some people like to call it, Hell's Aquarium.
Hell's Aquarium.
While you may have never heard of this prehistoric
Hell's Aquarium
or shallow ocean,
you gotta admit the ocean
there is
has
a fair
aura.
chance you've walked across it, or at least what's left of it, if you live in the United States, Mexico, or Canada.
Bro. That's how it used to be. I mean, this is millions of years ago, but holy shit. So is that why, like, because I know out west is like really good for fossils, compared to like the East Coast and stuff. Wow. Like imagine in Canada. Like, I feel like there's not a lot of fossil digging in Canada. At least that I've heard of.
Because when it was filled with water, it split these countries across, basically drawing a line through most of North America. And in the process, it created two island continents that no longer exist. Laramidia, which lay to the west, and Appalachia, that stood to the east. This state of existence persisted for roughly 34 million years, from the early Cretaceous 100 million years ago, all the way to the earliest Paleocene epoch, 66 million years ago.
Okay, like, I know I'm pausing a lot, but like, the timeline here of like 34 million years and 66 million years and stuff, like what? I mean, how long have humans been around? Humans, time. Like, do you think that we have a chance of outliving the dinosaurs and stuff? Like, I don't... Okay, so approximately 300,000 years. And like dinosaurs were around for millions and millions. Like, I mean, 66 million, 34 million. Like, do we even have a chance? Like, can Earth even stay alive that long anymore?
Throughout this time, sea monsters could be found at every point, but some periods were unarguably worse than others, with the Western Interior Seaway having reached its climax and peak nopeness during the Campanian age of the late Cretaceous, spanning between 83.6 and 72.1 million years ago. At the time, the seaway was warm and tropical in nature, while spanning 600 miles or 970 kilometers at its widest point,
600
and measuring over 2,000 miles or 3,200 kilometers long.
Jesus.
Additionally, it was remarkably shallow for its size, possibly only being 900 meters or 3,000 feet deep at its deepest point, compared to its presumed average depth of around 50 meters or 150 feet. Yet, despite its smallish size, the Western Interior Seaway still managed to cram in a ridiculous amount of nightmarish predators that were routinely larger or scarier than any of the predatory dinosaurs seen on land.
3 miles.
By far the most famous of these aquatic monsters, and likely the worst to swim into,
still a lot
were the
of room.
Mosasaurs.
It's a big swimming
This
pool,
was an
bro.
extinct group of aquatic reptiles that could grow to massive sizes, and were characterized by body shapes similar to that of monitor lizards.
Dude, I
However,
love lizards
unlike
so
their
much.
modern-day relatives, Mosasaurs had 4 paddle-like flippers instead of limbs,
Such cool
and their
creatures.
bodies were elongated and
Komodo
streamlined
dragons.
for maximum
Komodo
drag
dragons
reduction.
are badass.
Depending on how advanced the said species was, these guys...
Bro, what's up with the coloring here? Like, there's no way for us to actually tell what color they were, right? Like, there's no way that, like, this thing up here was a rainbow. Or this. Like, this is believable. Because, think, like, these are based off, like, whales. Like, when are you... There's no rainbow whales. There's no bright green whales. Like, this. This is believable. Like, what the hell is this? Like, this is just neon yellow. Okay, yeah. Wait, you're actually cooking.
would have also swam like an eel in an undulating fashion, or as in later developed mosasaurs, like a shark, as they had larger tail flukes that they used to propel themselves with surprising speed.
But
these powerful swimmers completely dominated the Western Interior Seaway, often being the biggest predators and sporting highly specialized teeth that were typically large, sharp, and sometimes serrated. Their success ultimately resulted in them enjoying a high level of diversification that they didn't experience anywhere else, as over 10 genera are known to have coexisted all at once, ranging from 2 meters or 6.5 feet to possibly 18 meters or 59 feet in length.
Shit.
But despite their diversity, chances are you'd only be attacked by 3 kinds: the Platycarpus, Clydastes, and Tylosaurus, as together they represent the most abundant mosasaurs in this environment, with most specimens from this time being attributed to them. Of the trio, the smallest was Clydastes, who was still by no means tiny, with certain specimens growing up to 6.2 meters or 20 feet in length, which is similar to the length of the largest recorded great whites, although it was much more narrow, which came with its own advantages as it allowed it to be an extremely agile hunter, who used its smooth teeth to catch a variety of fish and invertebrates within the shallowest parts of the seaway.
But
while it wasn't designed to be a threat to human-sized animals per se, this mosasaur was still capable of a nasty bite, and may have even been able to travel for some...
Yeah, bro, like a great white is literally just a smaller megalodon. Like, that's how apex they are. They just don't even have to adapt. They just... That's what I'm saying, bro. Sharks are so tough. They're so tough. It literally just got smaller to adapt. That's all it did. Everything else stayed the fucking same. But that's the thing about these, though, is, like, you've seen, like, the thing about, like, hippo skulls? Like, what is it? Hippo skull. Like, if you look at a hippo skull, right? Like, bro. Like this? Like, you can't tell me that people are thinking this is a hippo. Like, if you're putting skin and stuff over this and meat, like, nobody knows what this would actually look like besides the fact that we have hippos alive today. So, like, looking at these dinosaur skeletons and stuff, like, bro, we're just guessing. Like, these things could look horrifying, or they could look dumb as shit. Like, a hippo to me looks stupid. But, I mean, it's, like, you could make something crazy out of that skull. Yeah. But it's like, I mean, you can't lie, like the skeletons are still horrifying to look at, but I mean, truthfully, we still don't know what the body would look like. I don't know the whole science behind that, but
time into fresh water, making it that much harder to avoid. Things start to further ramp up when moving on to the platycarpus, as this abundant mosasaur was a tad bit bigger, with certain individuals measuring 24 feet or 7 meters from head to tail, while weighing about 1 ton, close to the weight of giant Nile crocs, Africa's current largest predator.
talk about
At this size, the platycarpus should hopefully raise your thalassophobia more than Clydastes. And yet, ironically, it likely wasn't a huge threat to aquatic megafauna, since studies on its teeth have found them to have been extremely fragile, leading paleontologists to speculate that it feasted primarily on smaller fish and soft-tissued squid within deep waters. It might start looking like this was the worst place ever, solely for little critters, but don't relax too much, as the third most common mosasaur was a giant with an appetite to match, and this is the Tylosaurus. This mosasaur was in most ways the same as others of its kind.
I mean, it's eating a bird.
Everything about it was much bigger,
Pterodon.
with adults being anywhere from 12 to 15.8 meters, or 39 to 52 feet long, fairly similar to the length of a humpback whale, and making it one of the largest mosasaurs across the entire planet.
A humpback whale with teeth that are this big. Like teeth the size of my head. Yeah, get out of here.
And unlike the platycarpus, Tylosaurus had teeth.
Bro, that is horrifying. That is fucking horrifying.
That were no joke, with matured individuals possessing up to 32 teeth at any given point, that were fairly similar to each other in nature, being large, thick, recurved, and finely serrated, perfectly adapted for tearing through large animals. And thanks to its size, Tylosaurus could pretty much bully anything it wanted to in its environment, playing the role of an apex predator and routinely hunted a wide range of animals, that is reflected by its stomach contents, as they have included the remains of plesiosaurs, turtles, birds, bony fish, sharks, and even other mosasaurs.
Dude.
The Tylosaurus is believed to have mostly utilized ambushes during these hunts, where it would strike unsuspecting prey at high speed.
12-pound line, yeah. On an ultralight, you're gonna fish one up with an ultralight. But like, think about this. They know more about what this thing ate than the oarfish. They had the babies. They didn't eat for 6 weeks and then all died in the past video we watched about the oarfish. And we know more about what these dinosaurs ate because of fossils in their stomachs that they found. But we don't know what a baby oarfish can eat. Like that's just insane to me. Like, how does that even make that make sense?
And possibly deploying a secret weapon as well. Its snout. This snout was quite unique to Tylosaurus,
that's what I'm saying.
with it being proportionally very long and having all teeth situated farther back, meaning that the front was pure bone.
Look how far back those teeth go.
The tip of the snout was also fitted with a robustly built knob that was backed by shock compression structures, leading to the belief that this snout was literally a built-in ram that Tylosaurus used to bash animals around. And evidence shows that Tylosaurus was quite liberal with the use of this weapon, being a hyper-aggressive animal that attacked nearly everything, including itself, as adult specimens routinely bear damage thought to have come from other competitors. Even the rarer yet equally deadly Mosasaurus was sometimes attacked, with one fatal case even being known of, wherein a Tylosaurus had rammed and smashed the brain case of a Mosasaurus apart, leading to a swift death. Don't get it twisted though, as Mosasaurus still held the distinction of the largest mosasaur and therefore predator in these waters, occasionally growing to be 17.1 meters or 56 feet long, and weighing over 10 tons.
That dude got some good
And while
footage.
it didn't have a battering ram like Tylosaurus did, Mosasaurus arguably had the deadlier bite, with its skull being relatively large for its body, allowing for a row of giant teeth that were made for slicing and dicing. Each tooth possessed 2 opposite cutting edges as well as prisms that ran down the sides, helping each bite to cut deeper while simultaneously improving the overall gripping strength. Its bite was also much more powerful, with studies suggesting a bite force of between 13,000 and 16,000 pounds per square inch, which is 4 times the power of a saltwater croc's bite. With such power and size, Mosasaurus became another one of the Western Interior Seaway's apex predators, having a diet just as diverse as the Tylosaurus's. And again, similar to its relative, it is thought to have employed ambush hunting to capture prey. Unlike sharks, these giants didn't rely on a keen sense of smell to target prey. Rather, they had powerful binocular vision that provided pristine views in the murkiest of waters. And unfortunately for all, Tylosaurus and Mosasaurus were not the only giants of their kind prowling around with great vision, as you also had mosasaurs like Prognathodon, which was only 25% smaller than the Mosasaurus and also had a ferocious bite. Remarkably, despite holding the title of the biggest predators, the mosasaurs did not have the deadliest jaws in these waters.
Like, bro,
as
I
that
like
title
to
went to a
picture that these
predator
videos
that
are just
coasted the most
real. Like, somebody actually sat there and recorded that. That thing jumped 50 feet out of the water. Like, what?
outer edges of the western interior seaway, the Deinosuchus. Yep, that's right. This prehistoric
big
body
croc.
of water not only had the largest mosasaurs of all time, but one of the largest crocodilians as well. Currently, scientists are not positive on the extent of the Deinosuchus' presence in the region, but it's thought that it
Deinosuchus.
definitely inhabited bays, estuaries, and the coast, while perhaps venturing into deeper waters as well from time to time, since specimens have been found in marine deposits.
That's like
Furthermore, it definitely
like a sea crocodile. Like, you know, they go out to deep water. There's been like proof of them like fighting sharks, which is just insane. But that's the thing, like sharks and alligators, crocs, like those things did not have to evolve. They literally just got smaller so they could just fit into the ecosystem. Like prehistoric beasts. Yeah, for like the Children's Museum, the fossils they have there of the whatever they just said, the Deinosuchus. Like those things are massive.
lived on both the eastern and western side of the seaway, and interestingly differed in size depending on which side it lived. To the east, Deinosuchus grew to smaller sizes but were far more plentiful, while in the west they were fewer but
Holy
far larger,
shit.
reaching 12 meters or
Its
39
mouth is
feet
6
in
feet.
length.
Yeah,
This
39
obviously isn't
feet.
very
What?
close to the length of the largest mosasaurs, though Deinosuchus was far more robust in build, allowing it to stand its ground when it came to weight,
Girth
with
and
estimates
tonnage, bro.
suggesting a maximum of around 8.5 tons.
Girth and tonnage.
Disregarding weight, Deinosuchus had the advantage of more impregnable defenses, since, like many crocodilians, it too was covered in osteoderms. However, Deinosuchus was a bit
bro.
unique in that its osteoderms were much larger and heavier.
It'd be like Pokemon in real life. Like people would start like capturing them, bro. Like those evil villain layers. Like people would just capture these things and then just keep them in their villain layer. Like, yeah, I have a pet Deinosuchus. It's not trained or anything, but it lives here. Like, what? Like, could you imagine a zoo hosting one? Like how zoos like share polar bears and shit. Bro, get the fuck out of here. No way.
Than normal. In fact, when they were first recovered, paleontologists confused them for the armor of an Ankylosaurus. These homegrown armored plates
Yeah,
would have
and they
covered the
legit
back
just
of
have
adults
armor.
and were hemispherical in shape,
Plus
providing
21
ample
AC.
armor while also serving as attachment points for tissue, which ultimately played a massive role in its ability to walk outside of water. Overall, these osteoderms made Deinosuchus one of the better equipped animals in the waters, but what really made it stick out was its monstrous bite. For starters, Deinosuchus had massive skulls that were alligator-like in
Like,
structure,
look at that.
meaning they were very broad, giving them
It
immense
could swallow
biting
an
power
alligator
that
of
was only
today's,
amplified by the
time
presence
whole.
of well-developed jaw muscles. All of this resulted in a bite that potentially
Yeah,
delivered more
that's
power
crazy
than
seeing
even that
seeing
of
the
a fully
size
grown
comparison
T-Rex,
that way.
with some studies estimating a bite force of over 100,000 newtons, 5 times the power needed to crush a car. This staggering amount of energy would have been channeled into their robust teeth
it could
that were
crush
sharper
5
towards the
cars in one
front and
bite.
blunter towards the back,
100,000
suggesting
newtons.
that this croc was designed to crush things to death rather than tear. It's thought that, like the American alligator, Deinosuchus was an opportunistic feeder who munched on anything it could catch. Yet fossil evidence shows that it had a preference for marine turtles, large fish, and dinosaurs that ventured too close to the water.
Just snap
The
a
coasts
turtle
and
in
shallow
half.
reefs of this prehistoric seaway were no doubt a terrible place to be if trying to avoid the largest predators around. But the more open waters were home to their own share of nightmares too, including rather peculiar cephalopods to say the least. Cretaceous cephalopods, like those of today, were still found in shallow water, but they held a much more expansive range in the deeper areas compared to others. Despite not being as big or as bad as the mosasaurs, or Deinosuchus for that matter, they still feasted on whatever was floating around, as western interior seaway cephalopods were among the biggest of their kind. even rivaling the size of living krakens today, like the colossal and giant squid. Two of the better known large cephalopods from those times were Tusoteuthis and Ankoteuthis, both members of the now extinct Ankoteuthinae family.
I mean,
These two sea monsters were incredibly similar.
Who knows, bro?
So much so, in fact, that paleontologists often like to argue on if a recovered specimen belongs to one or the other. What we do know, though, is that they were big, frightening looking, and confusing. Confusing in the sense that they had the appearance of a girthy, relatively short squid, and yet were more related to modern octopus than living squids. In their youth, these cephalopods were quite small and vulnerable to attacks, with paleontologists believing that they actually made up the bulk of a...
Like, that's so insane to me. How have we explored more of the moon than the ocean? It's harder to get to the moon? I mean, getting to the bottom of the ocean is really fucking hard too, though. Yeah, the pressure. But it's like... Dude, I don't know. Like, who knows what's down there? Where, like, the Middle Earth theories, like, there's a whole prehistoric world in the center, like, as you get deeper in the earth, like, caves and stuff. Yeah, what was that? The submarine thing, right? Like, they did the... What was that called? Where they took, like, a video game controller down there to control the submarine. And then they hit a depth and just, like, actually imploded. Like, they said it, like, they died immediately and burnt hotter than the sun or some shit. Like, that's... Wow.
A lot of aquatic animals' diets, an idea backed by prehistoric fish stomach contents. However, in response to the fish food, these cephalopods adapted by maturing rapidly and showing extreme size variation among individuals, leading to some specimens being about the size of your arm, while others could get 3 meters or 10 feet long. At this size, these guys were active predators and turned the tables on their once would-be attackers, typically eating fish, invertebrates, and even vertebrates like baby mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. Akin to how octopus hunt, Tusoteuthis and Ankoteuthis would have used their 10 tentacles, lined with suckers, to ensnare prey which were then swiftly ushered into their waiting beaks. Additionally, while not confirmed, many think that they were also capable of squirting ink when a quick escape was necessary, and were quite speedy, relying upon jet propulsion to maneuver the waters. Obviously, these cephalopods had some useful tools, yet one area that they were lacking in was armor, as their bodies were for the most part composed of very soft tissue. Although there was another cephalopod lurking around that had an answer to this problem. This was Peripazosia. Despite hailing from the same class of animals, Peripazosia was not an octopoda like the two formerly mentioned creatures, but instead a member of the Ammonite order, a now extinct group of cephalopods whose closest living relatives are the coleoids. All members of this order, Peripazosia included, bore spiral shells which were made of calcium carbonate, the same mineral seen in snail shells. Analysis on the shells showed that the calcium carbonate was arranged in prisms, crystals, or other shapes and patterns depending on the layer. These shells provided a fair degree of protection against predators, and also housed the majority of their bodies, which in the case of Peripazosia
people always talk about, like, if we had tails.
It was a true sea monster,
like, imagine if we had
holding the title of the largest known ammonite and the heaviest cephalopod of all time, outclassing both the giant and colossal squid. The largest known Peripazosia had shells that were possibly 3.5 meters or 11 feet in diameter.
That's not
meaning
real.
That with flesh, these individuals are probably over 1.5 tons in weight, of which nearly half came from the shell alone. And if you could somehow pry a shell off of one of these giants, it's thought that their body would uncurl to a total length of 60 feet or 18 meters, about twice the length of a whale shark.
Everybody does, right?
Such size gave Peripazosia one more accolade, the heaviest invertebrate of all time. But what it did with this size is unknown, as all members of its order and their closer relatives are extinct, rendering their daily lives a mystery. What we do know, though, is that individuals could be found throughout the entire West...
I think I got a gag gift for Christmas one time that the shirt, it was just a black shirt and it just said botched circumcision. I need to confirm with my parents if that's true. Alright, mods, ban this guy.
It's an interior sea
Bro, just abbreviated.
way, intended to stick to the upper layer of water, typically not going below 250 meters or 800 feet, meaning that unlike giant squids of today, these behemoths weren't hard to find. and finding it may not have been in your best interest either, as it could have been adept at catching fish, other cephalopods,
Bro, it's just a
and even
squid
marine
with a
reptiles.
shell on it. Like,
However, on the flip side, some think it was actually more likely to give you a death through jump scare than predation, with some arguing that it mostly stuck to vegetation and plankton, only hunting the slowest of creatures due to its sluggishness. It's quite
uncircumcised
shocking
squid.
that this giant bizarre invertebrate could be found in an area that also housed the largest mosasaur and one of the largest crocodilians of all time, making the western interior seaway seem like something out of a monster movie. And at the very same time, there
that
were
Jurassic
horrors
World?
swimming around that we are all too familiar with,
Sharks,
including
here we go.
sharks. They may not have been the true kings of the time, but they were still highly successful, playing the role of both scavengers and active predators, while also being one of the most commonly found carnivores around. Like many, these Cretaceous sharks apparently had a touch of gigantism, as a few types found in the seaway were among the
megalodons
largest
were
known sharks.
massive.
Although, in contrast to say Deinosuchus, size didn't necessarily mean the sharks made the waters deadlier, since the biggest of them all, the Tychodus, was actually relatively harmless to most. This was a mackerel shark the size of a whale shark, but unlike the whale shark, didn't use filter feeding, but yet was still highly specialized in its own regard, sporting a durophagous diet, meaning it primarily ate anything with a shell or exoskeleton. This odd diet was
It's got
deduced by the
grinders as
shark's
teeth.
which weren't sharp or serrated, but were instead fairly
gonna
flat
gum it.
plates that were designed to crush. These teeth were abundant, sometimes numbering over 500, and could be absolutely
Bro.
huge, with
Looks
the
like a
biggest
thumb.
recorded being longer than a ruler. These robust
Longer than a ruler?
teeth would have allowed the shark to easily crush a variety of slow, hard-moving prey like crustaceans or turtles. Not all sharks are this docile though, as when you do go down in size, you run into a still fairly big, yet much more voracious, toothy fish, the Cretoxyrhina, more commonly known as the Ginsu shark. Like Tychodus, this was a
Ginsu
mackerel
shark.
shark,
I've never
but this
heard
one
of
bore a
this.
striking resemblance to our very own great white, while also sharing an oddly similar lifestyle, even though the two are not closely related, demonstrating a case of convergent evolution millions of years in the making. This was obviously terrible news for any animal around, since it meant that the Cretoxyrhina would have taken a stab at any kind of prey if the size was right. But it gets even scarier, because this shark was particularly good at killing a certain kind of animal: active predators. That's right, the bulk of the Cretoxyrhina's diet came from other megafaunal marine predators, such as sharks,
W shark.
mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, and fish, all of which have been found in the stomach regions of certain specimens. Such a diet indicates a hyper-aggressive animal and brings up the question of how it achieved such a feat. Well, the secret lay in its size and locomotion, as despite sometimes being 8 meters or 26 feet long and weighing over 5 tons, it was still
Bro.
ridiculously fast.
You bring
evidenced
up
by
a
the
great
pattern-
point. Could you imagine if Shark Week was around 33 million years ago? Bro. Some of the footage we would have. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like when people, when, like, the question of, like, would you, like, if you could time travel, would you go into the future or past? Yeah, exactly. But, like, I would go into the past 100%. Like, I mean, fuck the future. Like, what? Like, yeah, it's cool, whatever, but, like, you're going into the past and seeing shit like this, especially if you can, like, take a phone and record it, bro. If I have, like, even a little bit of guaranteed safety, like, you know, I'm not gonna just spawn and just get chomped on, you know? I don't know. What do people say? The Victorian era child versus a beefy 5-layer burrito. It's like a new kid in her stomach. Like, she would actually just blow up. Like, I'd have to wear like a full hazmat suit. That's what I'm saying, is like if I have like guaranteed, like, you know, I'm not gonna spawn right next to something that's just gonna destroy me. You know, like maybe like a safety bubble. I don't know.
pattern of its placoid scales, which reduced drag and were organized in a fashion only seen in the fastest living sharks. Additionally, Cretoxyrhina had the most extreme case of a type 4 tail fin seen in any mackerel shark. Big news, as this type of fin supports high speeds, and models estimate that this giant could have topped speeds of 70 kilometers or 43 miles per hour, where its
Bro, get the
powerful
fuck out of my
jaws
stream
would have
with
then
that
come into
bullshit.
play,
I don't
dealing
need
catastrophic
promotion.
damage, as they were lined with rows of razor-sharp teeth, which were bigger than those even seen in great whites, and also had thicker coats of enamel in order to survive these massive collisions. Fossil remains support the notion of high-speed attacks too, as nearly all bones found with bite marks belonging to this shark are extremely deep and large. And some of these said fossils have actually come from dinosaurs, showcasing that not even the rulers of the Mesozoic were safe. Albeit the dinosaurs in question, which were a hadrosaur and ankylosaur, were likely scavenged after their corpse had been washed out to sea. Yet the Cratoxyrhina is still more than enough shark to fill anyone's galeophobia.
That
But
thing
the
is
fin nightmares didn't
badass.
stop with it, as you can't forget the presence of a smaller shark that still managed to make the waters even more quote-unquote
Megalodon.
interesting, the Squalicorax.
What?
Better known by its nickname, the crow shark.
The
It
crow
too is a
shark.
mackerel shark. However, it was quite a bit smaller, normally measuring between 1.8 meters or 5.9 feet and 4.8 meters or 16 feet in length, similar to the size of a tiger shark. And its likeness to the tiger of the ocean went beyond its size,
Prehistoric
as its
tiger
teeth
shark?
were remarkably similar too, being numerous, relatively small, curved, and serrated, perfect for cutting and sawing through tough tissue. With such deadly teeth, the crow shark was capable of devouring many kinds of food that largely overlapped with the diet of the Cratoxyrhina, with the major difference being that it went for the smaller individuals. Another difference between the two was that the crow shark tended to stick to more coastal areas and supplemented a larger
Dude.
portion of its calorie intake with
Just dragging
scavenging.
you in.
which again,
it wouldn't
partially
even drag
consisted
you.
of
Like that's
dinosaurs.
like crocodiles
It also-
and alligators that'll like drag you in. Like this thing's just gonna like actually like my calf. I can't even get it up that. Like it would just take a chunk out of your calf, and now you're just bleeding out. Like their teeth are just serrated edges. Like it's
to
legit like a
develop the unique
razor
skill,
blade.
hunting the rulers of the sky. In other words, the pterosaurs. Since, as opposed to other sharks, the crow shark has been known on more than one occasion to have successfully attacked large pterosaurs.
How?
Namely, the pteranodon, which suggests that it had excellent vision that it used to track pterosaurs
Why are they even
when they were
flying
getting ready
that
to
low?
dive for a fish.
Oh, fish.
And
yeah.
speaking of
I'm
fish,
stupid.
crow sharks are pretty good at
Ignore
hunting
that.
them too, with many specimens containing large amounts of fish within their stomachs. Among the fish that have been found, there is one that has really stuck out to paleontologists, since it too is well known for being a famous sea monster of the western interior seaway, the Xiphactinus. You may recognize this name from certain documentaries, or you might be more familiar with its colloquial name, the X-fish.
Bro, you know what these look like? Jeremy Wade caught one. Is this a... Is it called a tigerfish? Yes. Yeah, Jeremy Wade caught one. It's freaking crazy. Look at this thing. They're very similar looking. Look at this thing, dude. Like, this is a fish that you catch in Africa. A barracuda? Barracudas don't have the girth like this, though. Like, barracudas are like missiles. This thing is like a... Like, if a barracuda's a missile, this thing's like a... I don't even... Dude. Like, this thing's a bomber. Like, look at these things. These things are crazy. It's called a tigerfish. The one Jeremy Wade caught was massive. Is there a picture of it? Dude. Yeah. Like, oh my god. That thing will fuck you up. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I could have adapted to that, but, like, look at it. Like, they're very similar. This thing's pretty thick, got those big teeth. But also, I'm pretty sure where they catch them is, like, brackish water, too. Like, I mean, it's, like, half salt, half freshwater, maybe? I could be making that
It was a
up.
large
Don't
bony
quote.
fish that belonged to the now extinct order known as the Ichthyodectiforms, who were specifically comprised of ray-finned fish and were some of the meanest, ugliest fish to ever arise, with
Look
the
at those
X-fish
teeth.
being no exception, and probably holding the title as the meanest looking of the bunch. The main feature behind its terrifying looks was clearly its mug, which was broad, pushed back, and slanted. And while this face X'd any chance for a career in modeling, It's what gave the X-fish its fearsome reputation and status as a
Yeah, and they
top
probably
predator,
hunted in
as the
schools
jaw
and
was
stuff
highly
too.
flexible, allowing it to virtually swallow anything small enough.
Imagine just 10
which
of
meant a
those
lot,
coming at you.
considering that adults could grow to be 5 to 6 meters, or
What?
16 to 20 feet
I thought he was gonna say like 5 feet. These things were getting up to 20 feet long.
in length. At the lower size estimate, X-fish were capable of swallowing human-sized prey with one gulp,
Oh my
as depicted
god.
by the fish within a fish specimen, which showed a 1.9 meter
Hi,
or
welcome to the chat.
6.2 foot
Thank
long
you for
fish that had
saying
been
what's
swallowed
up.
whole by a
good.
medium-sized X-fish.
Hope
Furthermore,
you're
there
doing
are
well.
over a dozen other specimens that show similar findings. And on top of this crazy ability, this fish could still also cut through things with ease, thanks to their narrowed and sharp teeth, allowing them to both scavenge large animals or cut up living ones that could then be swallowed
How are
in
you
smaller
doing?
pieces. This was definitely the last non-shark fish you'd want to meet. And with the X-fish, you'd also start to arrive at the end of the list of sea monsters that truly made this place Hell's Aquarium.
I'll
Naturally,
answer
though,
your chats
there were
after this
plenty of
video.
other piscivores and carnivores that I didn't mention, yet most didn't really make the seaway stand out in terms of deadliness. However, you really can't forget that there was one more iconic group present, the plesiosaurs. These guys, like the mosasaurs, had 4 flippers, but the similarities stopped here, as plesiosaurs had broad flat bodies and short weak tails, while their necks could also be comically long, giving certain members the longest neck-to-body ratio
Were
of
these
any
things
reptile.
considered fish?
To swim, they would have
Reptile?
flapped their flippers in a flying
Okay, so
motion
this thing
and
was a
mostly
reptile,
stuck to the shallower
not
waters.
a fish. Okay.
So far, multiple kinds are known to have inhabited the western interior seaway, with the bulk being plesiosauroids, while a few species of polycotylids were present too. Some of them could get quite long and were typically over 15 feet or 5 meters from head to tail, with the longest having been the Elasmosaurus and Albertonectes, both of whom grew to around 11.6
Bro,
meters
these
or
things
38
are
feet.
horrifying.
Such length gave them the
It's just the
longest necks
shape
of all
of them.
time, and the
What?
Elasmosaurus actually had the most vertebrae of any known animal. Quite the accomplishment.
Any known
But despite their
animal?
daunting lengths and appearances, these long-necked reptiles didn't really have voracious diets, as they were simply highly specialized for small prey, given the narrow nature of their mouths and necks. It is believed that they would have used their necks to actually trick small animals like fish by approaching them with their mouths while their large bodies were hidden out of sight, and thus giving them the chance to ambush prey, perhaps even confusing a fish into thinking that they were a fish too. Once they struck, though, it was clear that they were no friendly fish, as like many specialized fishers, the plesiosauroids had teeth that were angled in such a way that they created a natural fish trap once
That is
closed.
horrifying.
In addition to fish, it is believed that they also hunted snails, clams, and other small creatures. So, while not apex predators, these guys were no doubt still highly skilled and successful, as demonstrated by their extreme level of diversity. Which brings up the question of where did they and the rest of the crazy animals that called these waters home go? Well, some seem to have had a slow decline, or in other cases, evolved into something else.
Sharks, bro.
Animals
so
also had
based.
to deal with the fact that the seaway
So
was constantly
based.
shrinking.
They're never leaving.
Although, what really changed the seaway for good was the asteroid that slammed into Earth 66 million years ago, causing extreme disruption and damage to say the least. The impact was especially bad here compared to other bodies of water, considering that the giant rock touched down rather close, sending a giant tsunami, as well as other unpleasantries through the waters, as evidenced by fish found with iridium in their gills. This devastation
Iridium?
wiped out many of the more iconic sea monsters, and finally brought an end to Hell's Aquarium. Don't be mistaken though, as the waters have been home to many nightmarish creatures after the end of the western interior seaway, including relatively recently, when a species of dolphin emerged in North America that had literal spears for teeth. If that sounds interesting, check out the video I made on that.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out Extinct Zoo. Make a lot of good videos. That's just insane. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.